Law is one of the strongest supernova in his generation, and he has a lot of experience living as a pirate for basically his whole life. With one of the most broken devil fruits in the series, Law is able to change reality however he sees fit. Inside this room, Law is basically God. Trafalgar D. Waterlaw is a member of the D clan. The D clan is still a mystery to the people of One Piece, but looking at the list of the other members, we also have Roger, Ace, Roge, Dragon, Garp, Saul, Blackbeard, and of course Monkey D. Luffy. So Law is not only one of the strongest pirates of his generation, but he also has one of the most important roles in the entire story. Many people believe the only thing Law wanted to do was get revenge on Dofi and defeat Kaido. But there are other things that Law has interest in, and we actually learned about this earlier on during the story. Now obviously Law does not want to be Pirate King. His crew is filled with a bunch of weaklings, and unlike Luffy and Kid, Law does not have a right-hand man like Rayleigh. He also doesn't use his crew the same way as Kid and Luffy. He's a lot more like Whitebeard when we actually think about it. But when it comes to the ancient history, it seems like Law has a much closer connection, and Law is a member of the Will of D, and we don't know exactly what that means, but we know they directly oppose God. Going off the list of the Will of D members, it seems like Law will share a major level of importance, so it makes sense that he is as powerful as he is now. But aside from that, when introducing the supernova, he had the third highest bounty after Luffy and Kid, and his powers were the craziest abilities out of all the supernova. Later on during the post-time skip, he was able to deliver 100 hearts to the world government in order to become a warlord. After helping Luffy take down 2 of the 4 emperors, he's now clashing with Blackbeard, and I personally think he's gonna lose, but as of right now, Law is holding his own. Now looking at Law's feats, we see that he is one of the smartest fighters in the verse and has by far the most broken devil fruit. Now during Dressrosa and during Wano, multiple characters make it clear that Law can't use all of his abilities in the presence of powerful Haki. Smoker even emphasized this when Tashigi tries to fight Law, but unfortunately Smoker and Tashigi got folded. Low diff. But during Punk Hazard, Law was able to switch Sanji's personality, turn Kinemon into Sushi, and turn Virgo into Legos. So even these 3 powerful characters were unable to defend against Law's dangerous hacks. Currently in the story, there is no clear limit to who can resist Law's hacks, but the only people so far have been conquerors. Now I'm not sure if you have to be a conqueror to negate these effects, but I kinda doubt it. The way I see it, anybody with powerful enough Haki can resist things like Chop. For example, characters like Blackbeard and the Admirals who don't have Conqueror's Haki should be able to avoid the Virgo treatment, or at least I would hope so. But we saw during the Wano arc that even against powerful Haki masters like Kaido and Big Mom, Law was still one of the best support characters in the entire series and one of the strongest people in the entire raid. So even if you can resist his most broken abilities, he's still able to use very lethal techniques that were able to completely destroy Dofi's organs. And his cutting abilities are not limited to just people. He was able to cut Fujitori's meteor in half and chop the entire island of Punk Hazard in half. So his abilities are not only have a deadly effect, but he also has a lot of destructive capabilities. Because like I said, this devil fruit is basically like controlling reality in a small room. Now during the Dressrosa arc, Law was heavily injured by Dofi, and it was a pretty good fight for the most part, but Dofi was holding back and Law eventually lost his arm. So overall, Dofi and Gear 4 Luffy are clearly much stronger, but moving towards the Wano arc, we see that Law has become a lot more powerful. Luffy, who had already slammed Doflamingo, went on to fight 2 Yonko commanders and became much more powerful. Now going into Wano with an advanced form of observation Haki, he went on to fight Kaido and was one-shotted and completely blitzed. But once we get to the rooftop, everyone, and yes, even Killer, was able to surpass this version of Luffy, therefore surpassing previous antagonists like Doflamingo and even Katakuri. And if you don't believe me, we can look at Killer. He was able to take multiple attacks from Big Mom and Kaido and still had enough energy to let Hawkins beat his ass, and then he proceeded to one-shot Hawkins. So even Killer has shown better feats of endurance than this version of Luffy. Now moving the focus to Law, he was able to land a counter shock on Big Mom during Roof Piece. He also lands an injection shot on Kaido, and as Kaido hits him, he opens an antibacterial curtain at point blank range. So this actually is a really impressive display of reaction speed. But then Kaido obliterates that feat because he tells Law he's about to blitz him, and then Kaido slams Zoro and Law at the same time. So obviously Kaido is much faster than Law, but this does not mean that he is slow. Kaido is just built different. Now after this, Luffy starts going 1v1 with Kaido and begins entering the Yonko caliber of strength, and by chapter 1025, it was obvious that nobody else in the raid is on Luffy's level. I have heard some fans compare Kid and Law to Luffy, but they're actually just not close, even remotely. Now moving on to Kid and Law versus Big Mom, some people downplay this fight and some people overrate it, but in all honesty, it was an incredible display of destructive power by both Kid and Law, and they showed high levels of endurance. With the help of Kid, he was able to land devastating blows on the Emperor, but to be fair to Big Mom, she was being overwhelmed by 2 of the most broken abilities, and she's also kind of slow. Not to take away from Kid and Law, but we watched a group of much weaker fighters get attacks off on Big Mom, and she even got blitzed by Brook and caught off guard by Robin. Not trying to downplay Big Mom or anything, but we have to understand that she is not the same as Kaido, and if you switch Kaido in her place, Kid and Law probably would have got destroyed, if I'm being real with you. But using his awakening, Law was able to destroy Big Mom's insides, and even after him and Kid got knocked out twice, he was able to get back up and land an insane attack on Big Mom called Puncture Willie, which is honestly one of the craziest attacks in the entire arc. Afterwards, he and Kid managed to knock Big Mom off the island, and this may not be the same as Luffy vs Kaido, but it's still insanely impressive, because commanders like Queen were stomped out and stood no chance against Big Mom. But Kid and Law gave Big Mom more damage than she's felt in 30 years, which is kind of a weird statement because she fought Kaido for 3 days, but whatever. And after Wano, we see Blackbeard face off against Law and his rinky-dink pirate crew, but surprisingly, Law actually did very well. And based on what we have right now, it seems he actually has the upper hand on Blackbeard. And even though I think Law is definitely going to lose, this is still a very incredible feat. Blackbeard is even more powerful than people like Rayleigh, and I think it's pretty obvious he's one of the strongest characters of all time. So when it comes to the Rooftop 5, a lot of these characters are heavily underrated by the fans, especially Killer. They all showed top tier level feats and will lead the current generation and surpass the legends of old. So for the most part, Law should have no trouble surpassing people like Rayleigh or even Odin. So in conclusion, when it comes to Trafalgar D Water Law, I believe just like these other Rooftop legends, he will be one of the strongest pirates of all time. But as of right now, I'd say he's about the same level of Zoro, slightly lower in my opinion. But what do you guys think? Is Law already on the level of the OG Yonko, or does he still have a long way to go? Drop a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.